Welcome to the Weekend Must Watch on Intercut, the weekly show going through all the movies, TV, and entertainment that people just can't cut away from. I'm your co-host Arturo Zurita, and joining me, it's Zachary Chavez!
What's going on, buddy? We're getting pretty close to the end of the year. There's just days left until 2025, and we have to worry about a whole new cycle of festivals, and movies, and awards.
Last movie minutes here. We're getting into it, the thread of it all. Before we even end this year, we've already over on our Patreon got the best of Sundance that is on the horizon for 2025. We've got some of the best of the year in terms of our hidden gems. We're getting ready to film our best of TV, best of movies. Hey, overall, now that we reached the end of the year, I think we had a pretty good 2024. Sometimes you begin the year and you're not sure how it's going to go. I thought we had good film festivals. I thought we had good movies, TV. And most importantly, we had some really good episodes of the Intercut podcast this year, Zach, as we continue it here on the Weekend Must Watch, bro. And sadly, we don't have good recommendations on this episode, though, because it was a pretty slow week. We're about to get some big ones because I think this is one of the biggest Christmas releases we've had in a while. Last year's was pretty big, but we didn't have 3-hour epics coming back to back to back. A Complete Unknown, which you've got the chance to see. You've given nothing but praise. Nosferatu, right? That's the other one?
Nosferatu.
Some of us can't get in the building for that one, but I've heard nothing but great things on that one as well.
Yeah,
Baby Girl, crazy drama. And then the 3-hour epic I was talking about with The Brutalist. So many movies on the horizon. I'm watching Lion King tonight. We've also got Sonic 3. I know you're sleeping on it, but a lot of really big movies still coming out that are international selections, that are big Oscar contenders, and that are just massive movies.
Yeah, this has been a weird trend in now that we're sort of summarizing 2024. One of the weirdest trends, I think, of 2024 has been weeks with just sort of like absolutely nothing really going at the box office. Hollywood just kicking the can down the road and giving us absolutely nothing. And then weeks where it just feels like we have too much going on. So we're going from a week where there was not nearly enough into a week that will be a pretty crazy one, but it's a bit of a dull time in between right now.
Moana broke the record, so there was really nothing else to break at this point in time. Instead, we had movies where it was better to stay at home. So let's just start off with one of the biggest releases of the week that, in my opinion, was better than going out for the theatrical experience, and that would be Netflix's Carry On, a movie that not a lot of people knew about. Even when I told you last week, I was like, bro, they're coming out with a new film on Netflix. It looks like it should actually be in theaters. It's got a good cast. I thought was pretty delightful. I'm not putting it up there with there's that other Netflix thriller that I really liked. You know what I'm talking about. He said he put too much sauce on it.
Oh,
Rebel Ridge. Rebel Ridge,
yeah.
I think, still takes the cake a little bit, but if you like that movie, Netflix is here at it again, giving you thrillers that are better than leaving for the theater. This one's pretty simple. You know, you have a guy who is, I want to say fairly recently married, but the big part is that he's about to have a kid. So him and his wife who work at this airport, him in particular, a guy who wants to get an upgrade to work in TSA, ends up in a debacle where our bad guy wants to get a carry-on across, and he is left almost like phone booth, right? Having to listen to every instruction so that it can go through without his loved ones being hurt. What they're smuggling may end up being nothing. It may end up being the most dangerous weapon in the world. Man, I was in on this. It was a ride. I love this one. I thought it was a blast.
Yeah, it feels like a pretty classic like action thriller setup in that a guy gets in over his head and is forced to kind of work alongside but trying to undermine the criminals as he goes. But here I think they find an interesting twist on it in making Taron Egerton's character a TSA agent. And, you know, TSA is obviously like a increasingly significant part of being a traveler. But I feel like we haven't explored that much in terms of this side of airport security. So there's a lot of like interesting novel like situations that we found ourselves in and things that did make this movie feel pretty fresh in that regard. It's a very densely plotted suspense thriller where like they've really thought through the intricacies of this plan and things that can go wrong and characters who would end up subverting it, and there's some really good twists along the way, but it just sort of there's so much going on that you're kind of either like in the middle of downloading information or on the edge of your seat, just trying to find out whether or not this thing is going to go according to plan or not. So I think just in a minute to minute kind of basis, this movie really locks you in and keeps you pretty entertained throughout. I agree with you that it's maybe not quite as elevated as something like Rebel Ridge,
Mhm.
and the action itself is also not necessarily going to be, Chad Stahelskian, but there's set pieces here that are pretty solid, and it just ends up being like a really entertaining film. It kind of in some ways feels like the platonic ideal of a streaming movie where
Mhm.
it's very digestible and has enough going on that it pulls your attention away. Like I feel like you'd be missing important details if you're on your phone, and there's
Sure.
so much happening that you never really have a chance to take a break from it either.
Yeah. To me, this is the epitome of what a movie like this should be on streaming, where it feels like, oh, I would not have
Mhm.
been mad if I saw this in theaters. It gives you enough so that you're paying attention at home. It doesn't become, I feel like, a cycle where we're so used to just putting something on in the background on Netflix that we don't need to pay attention to. You start doing that for a lot of things. This one deserves your attention. Yeah, I do think Rebel Ridge is a little bit tighter in some of its action pieces, but I like that the moment the plan starts, it feels like they've thought it through a bit. Like there are moments,
Yeah.
the consequences. It's like, oh, you're not going to feel this. They're going to come up with another excuse. Nah, it puts you in his shoes. There are ways that he tries to solve things where you're like, okay, this should be clever. And they've thought of so many multiple ways to answer scenes from both the victim's perspective and also the perpetrator. I really like the way that they play with it. There are moments towards the end that get a little goofy. They really get into
Mhm.
this Mission Impossible mode of what they're going to do with this carry on. A little much for me, but Rebel Ridge also had that hokiness at the end. This one was just passing it a little bit more, entertaining to some, pushed it a little bit for me, but not enough to drop it off of what I would consider like a perfect 3.5 movie, which is a perfect 3.5 movie.
Yes,
The
yes.
exact type of, weekend Thanksgiving type of film that you would want to watch with the family. It is a little bit long, which is why I want to give it more of a credit because it's almost pushing 2 hours. It's 1 minute off, 119. And to be
Mhm.
honest, I feel like this is a 90-minute movie.
Yeah. It doesn't overstay its welcome, which I think most movies that are like this thin in terms of like theme and stuff like
Mhm.
that, I feel like don't really struggle with being over 90, but this did not. It's really
Yeah.
solid. I think it's a really great role for Edgerton as well, who has sort of low key developed a bit of like an action guy persona between this and Kingsman,
Yeah.
but has shown just his versatility across all his roles recently. Um, I also thought this was a very great part for Jason Bateman.
Mhm. He did a really good job coming in as the dude who's really doing voice acting for the beginning of it, which I
Mhm.
thought worked out pretty well because he sounded menacing. I'm like, dude, I know we see you because of the trailer, but even if we don't see you, like you're working this out very well. And then the silhouettes that he plays with, I thought were pretty good, especially when you got a henchman played by who I am considering one of the scummiest actors right now, just because he kills it so well. Theo Rossi has been doing this back to back to back, and my man needs a break right now. He needs to play some fathers or something because he's been doing it in Emily the Criminal. He was very disgusting in The Penguin. And here, like, he plays the lackey who's kind of helping him run all the stuff on the outside
Right.
to make sure that our lead is doing what he's supposed to. I thought that worked pretty well, especially because besides the main storyline, you have Daniel Deadweiler trying to catch whatever perpetrator on the outside before those two stories mix. So it's like I think the 2 hours work well because you're spending time with different people.
Mhm. I was really happy to see Daniel Deadweiler not on the edge of tears. It feels like just about every movie she's in,
Yeah.
her characters are going through some emotional anguish, and she does go through some anguish in this movie too, but
Yeah.
it's more of a physical
Bruh.
anguish. I liked her a
No, there
lot
was
in
one
this
scene.
movie.
Yeah, there was one scene she has with Taryn where I was like, yeah, that would not have ended with you giving him a remark after what he gave you. But yeah, no, she was solid. I wanted to see
She
more.
also oh, yeah, Cinque Wells, I enjoyed in this movie as too. I was
We need
gonna
a
say
little
with
more.
Daniel Deadweiler, she's also at the center of what I feel like is the showiest sequence of this movie. I'm curious what you thought of the oneer that takes place in
Mm.
the car. Because it's probably like the
Oh. Yeah,
the
it's good.
loudest action
Sure,
set
it's
piece
fine.
in
I
the
know
movie.
people really like those. I like the idea of how they film the internal stuff. I will always be able to tell when it screens around them in a jip.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing is like
I like it, but
it's a
it's not crossing
cool
that.
idea. It's a cool idea, but like it just looks a little bit too fake to be taken
Yeah, but you
as
asked me
like
if it was fun, and a three and a
it's
half
fun.
fun scene it is. Yeah, no,
It's
I
definitely
preferred.
fun.
I like it in the chat. I want to say it was Josh. The Tom Cruise runs that they had my boy do, those were good. When he's going down those like Meow Wolf, the Monsters Inc. almost facility that they have going on as he's
Right?
going for the suitcase. Those are really fun to watch. And overall, yeah, I thought the performances in it were good enough to give it a recommendation. Like I said, I'm going 3.5 on it for my letterbox plug.
I think I'll meet you there at the 3.5 as well.
Beautiful. So that's Carry On out on Netflix. If I think it's worthy enough to see in theaters, I think it's worth catching at home. Give that one a watch if you are curious. Keeping it with the thrillers though, unless you want to hop. Well, I guess you didn't see the scary one of the week. We'll go September 5th because I got to see this one at Chicago. I put it in my top 10. I know you had some words to say about it when we were mentioning it for an upcoming video for a pick of the week. But what were your overall thoughts on September 5th? A dark horse still? Got some globes for the award season.
Yeah, it got some nominations. I feel like it's probably a underdog in as far as its awards chances are concerned, and I would like it to stay that way as much as I did think this was a pretty competently made thriller. You know, it's a riveting story, and I think it's a really interesting angle in on this true history of the hostage situation at the 1972 Munich Games. This film obviously follows the ABC Sports News crew that was on the site getting coverage and distributing this to the masses. And I think it's through that angle that the film gets to ask some interesting questions about what the media's responsibility is in situations like
Mhm.
this, the power of stories and of image, as well as the importance of truth, you know, are all pretty interesting questions that this film ultimately addresses. It is a little bit of like it, because it's stripped down to this basically single location. Um, there's a lot of being told information, um, and I feel like it ends up making the film feel limiting in some aspects. You know,
Really?
it's not a film that, in some ways, like not. It's just something that makes the film feel maybe a little smaller than it could be. You know, as people leave the facility, we don't really travel with them much. We more hear back from them. There's one argument you can make that it sort of
Yeah.
keeps you in the tension of that room,
Yeah.
but I don't know if the
I like
tension
that.
was ever really that dialed up for me the way that maybe elite suspense thrillers are. I thought it was solid. I'm not trying to
Yeah.
disparage the film but in any way, but like I think to me it's like a notch below the best films of the year at least.
Yeah. I see them asking us if you see this getting a Best Picture nom, considering it got one at the Globes. Has been getting a lot of push from people. I think it somehow does. I like it a little bit more than you, but I can still agree this is getting hyped up a little bit more for awards season than I agree. Some movies that are way more immaculate than this one. It still worked for me because I like the idea of the people at the center not really knowing what's happening because that deals with the premise of are you going to take that information at face value or go through the systems that you should before you tell everybody else what they should know. It's almost like what they're dealing with. I like the fact that it's a tight 90. I like what it talks about. I've heard some
Mhm.
people say like when someone gives a critique and you're like, literally the only answer to your critique is you want the movie to stop and tell you don't do this.
Right,
I,
right.
I don't really get that. I think the movie is telling you what you should or should not do by reenacting what happened in that moment, what they were able to take advantage of. Just the ploys of like how watermarking came to be and how a live broadcast to something happening at the moment almost becomes this mirror of a situation and who really is the perpetrator, who is recording who is setting it up in a certain way without hand holding you, which I think some people may need, but I think what makes this movie successful is that part, and I agree with you, may limit it from giving a more profound message that isn't explaining it to you but can go a little deeper, and instead this puts you on the ride, which is exactly what I think it
Right.
was meant to be. I'm surprised it's getting the Oscar talk, but I don't think it's a bad pick because I can see people getting really excited with a Best Picture nominee that doesn't put them to sleep.
That's the thing, is that like I ultimately have a hard time getting mad at solid, competently made movies like these, or right now people are trying to turn Kate Winslet and Lee into this awards villain because they haven't seen that movie, and
Right?
it's getting the attention that some of their favorites are not. I mean, like, look, I think Kate Winslet's performance in Lee is like one of my favorite 5 favorites of this year. No, but like it's not a villain to me either, and I don't think this movie, even if it isn't like the best of the year to me, is bad enough to be considered a villain when it comes to award season. I think it's pretty solidly put together. A lot of really good performances in it. It's perhaps a film that isn't really going out on a limb politically, but I think it's trying to really keep its focus on like the experience of the real time response. Yep. Right? It's not trying to extrapolate it out beyond that, and it's also not trying to be didactic either. So nope. Perhaps that's points for it or points against it, but I think, as you said, the movie that it's trying to be, I think it's well executed.
It's getting a limited run now since it's getting the Golden Globes and stuff, so it was smarter than coming out in October. They got a little bit more of a push for it. I would plug it in. I was at a 3.5, 4. I'm gonna solidify myself at a 4. You ended up going.
I think I went 3.5 on this one, right. But I'm close to in between as well. We can go with a 4 for Intercut.
We can go 3.5 too for Intercut. We'll wait till it gets the Best Picture nominee and decide.
There we go. We'll knock it down if it gets in, of course.
Of course, easily. I'll go down. We'll just delete the thing.
Yeah, if it gets the Best Picture nomination, we'll change it to 2 stars.
We were the biggest fans of it from the beginning. The next one we know for a fact isn't going to get anything. It might not even get a full 5 minutes here on the show, but it is Kraven the Hunter, a movie that feels like a last-minute addition to something that was already canceled. You ever go to a wedding and you already regret getting a gift because you know they ain't going to be together by the next anniversary? This feels like that. We started the year with Madam Web, so why not close it out with another Sony Cinematic Universe that doesn't exist anymore, Zach? Nothing is worse than going to a movie as the studio tells you this and all the other ones don't matter anymore. They'll reboot it in 2 years again, but how pathetic. Kraven the Hunter is the newest movie starring Aaron Taylor Johnson as a hunter. He the hunts, bro. He is one of the best. You give him something, he's going to get it. It is this whole storyline jumping back and forth from him being young, getting older. Will he take over his father's evil empire, or will he become a good villain? Because, Zach, we don't have bad villains no more. We have Cruella, who's not cruel to dogs, and Kraven the Hunter, who doesn't hunt like he does in the... But I don't get this, bro. I don't, like, we are doing movies about villains that we want to sell toys, so we're stripping away what makes them Spider-Man villains to begin with. On a Spider-Man movie that doesn't include Spider-Man, look, this is a movie that has Ariana DeBose as a character who is young, that he comes to come scope out when the movie needs him to scope him out. So he's only a hunter. He's the hunter when he needs to be. Russell Crowe plays his father, and this may be the character of the hunter people wanted because he's the actual evil guy. Aaron Taylor's like the modern man. It is a mess of a movie. We know this. Here's how I'm gonna break it down. Aaron Taylor Johnson needs a big blockbuster, because they're not bringing him back for the other Avengers movie. You know when celebrities buy a tequila and it really is like a shell of a company that was going under, so they told the Jonas Brothers, attach your name to it? That is all this movie is to Aaron Taylor Johnson. You see it in the interviews. My man needs a trilogy, and he doesn't care that it was Kraven the Hunter. He has been straightforward with it. They told him, you want this one? He said, I'll take it. J.C. Chandor thought he was making a mob film. Zach, you already knew this. No one told him that when you enter a Marvel movie, 35% of it is already shot. I have heard him talk about how he had to fit the rhino because they had already bought a VFX company. Are these movies, Zach? He's trying to fit in a film with 7 VFX scenes that have been made. Like, people don't understand that's how these movies are made. So what am I really reviewing here other than 3 different ideas coming together for a company that's already canceled the entire project to begin with? There is no point for this. Kraven the Hunter was supposed to come out last year. It shouldn't have even come out this year.
Yeah, I mean, this whole chapter of the Sony Spider-Man era has been just so regrettable. And like, I know there are our friends like Amanda out there who found a lot to love about Madam Web, but I don't think there are a
It
lot
had
of
funny
people out
parts.
there who would argue that like this whole idea has really led to any growing of the IP of the brand, any movies that are worth really celebrating. I mean, I guess Venom maybe has its defenders as well, but like,
Well, that's the bit, right? Venom got
yeah,
3. So Craven and Aaron Taylor were like, let's get the 3. They're all trying to do like a mini project. Like they don't want to be Avengers 10 movie deal stuck. They want like a nice little trilogy. And Tom Hardy
yeah.
set the precedent for it. He thought he was going to get it. No. Tom Hardy didn't even want to do his third one.
I mean, this was all supposed to lead to a Sinister Six movie at some point, right? And I don't know, man. I mean, I just don't understand like the motivations here. Like it's what you're saying. The reason people care about these characters is because of the history that they have,
That's it.
the characters that they are. And
That's it.
Sony has decided with this series to just fundamentally change who all the characters are. And in a way where like if you had a real take, if you had a real idea, maybe, but it seems like films made by executive producers and not by the directors they hire.
Not the smartest thing. Yeah. Venom was like so bad. People memed it. Madam Web was a movie that was trying to be high camp. So people made fun of it. This isn't trying to be a funny movie. It is trying to be a movie that
Mm.
sadly they did not realize it's still under this corporate umbrella and it didn't work. The Sinister Six, Zach, they're the Sony reps, in my opinion. They're the corporate people up there because, yeah,
Yikes.
this feels like a movie that tried to be good. And that's even worse because there's not even something to make fun of it. It just ends up being a little dull. Kraven the Hunter setting itself up for a sequel that it'll never get, but it is out in theaters now. Please, please go watch Triple Frontier or A Most Violent Year. I'd highly recommend this one over here instead from the director. But there is another festival pick that has been doing the rounds. I want to say it's a documentary that premiered at Cannes. It is now out on Mubi. Zach, tell me about it.
Yeah, so this is Dahomey. It's the latest film from Mati Diop, who I believe's last film was Atlantics. Am I getting that one right?
Could be.
Yeah.
I believe so.
A lot of people really like that one. Dahomey is a pretty interesting documentary in that it is following the process of these artifacts that were in Paris that are being relocated to their ancestral homes in different parts of West Africa. Forget specifically which country Dahomey is predominantly takes place in.
West African
Benin.
Kingdom.
Benin.
Benin. Oh, right here.
Yeah, the
Modern day
Republic of
Benin.
Benin. And so it's this really fascinating subject matter of these, artifacts that were stolen from their the places that produced them and that had been sitting in museums for years and years, and basically what not only will have like should happen to them, but like practically what are people going to do about them, because it's not just a matter of relocating some of these items, but it's about how they want to be uh, brought back into the culture, if
Mm-hmm.
they should be put on display the same way they were for the colonialists, right? So it's partly a film about what's happening to these artifacts, but it's also a film that engages with the debate around their fate.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's a very interesting subject matter. It's told very artfully. There's this like deep voiceover, mysterious disembodied voice that's meant to be the thoughts of these ancient statues and art pieces and stuff like that. So it's got an artistry to it as well, and it's a pretty lean documentary. I think it clocks in just under an hour as
Oh, wow.
well. I think this is one that some people are circling as a potential contender for the best documentary Oscar as well. It's certainly one of the most interesting documentaries I've seen this year. It it feels a little bit like a short film, and partly maybe that's because it is under an hour. But
Oh,
I,
really?
yeah, I think it's solid. I think it's really interesting.
Damn. I'm trying to remember. There was another one I want to say that played TIFF 2023, the last year I was there, that also had to do
Mhm.
with artifacts, where she wanted to see where they were putting them, but she wouldn't show you the artifacts. Like when
Hmm,
she finds them, you can only see her reaction of her looking at it because it's supposed to be so holy. So,
that's
all right,
funny.
I'm curious. Yeah, this one's on Mubi. It's been getting a lot of praise while it was playing at the festival, so I'll be very curious to catch up on this one. Sounds pretty good. All right. From there, we move on from our movie picks of the week, all the new stuff, to some pilot previews. All of the move or TV shows, I should say, that came out this week. Some as a whole, some as just some pilots. I caught like the first 5 of this, but I have not finished it. I know it trended. Tell me about Black Doves on Netflix, starring Keira Knightley and Ben Whishaw.
Yes,
Oh, I
yeah,
see
our
nothing then.
boy. Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's in it from the start, man. I'm spending too much time looking at the puzzle.
I was.
So yeah, this is intriguingly, I believe this is Keira Knightley's first TV series. Obviously a star of the big screen, but she's waited to make her transition into this era of prestige TV. This is a show about a woman who is brought out of her secret identity after a secret organization has some like internal disruptions. I'm trying to say it without saying it. But it's essentially, this is a spy show. This is Keira Knightley leaves her life of uh, domesticity and motherhood behind to return to the international spy game. And it's a, suspenseful thriller, but it's also got like a leg in very sort of traditional kind of like family TV dramas. I think one thing that told me a lot about what kind of show this is that there's a scene in which she is broken into somewhere she's not supposed to be, and someone is approaching, and she gets a call from her daughter, and while she's supposed to be like hiding and covering, she's like yelling at her daughter to go to bed. So it's got like a kind of like rubberiness, silliness to it as well. It's not all played really earnest or seriously. um it's well plotted, and it's got interesting stars in it. I think Ben Whishaw is obviously always fun to see on screen. I,
Mhm.
I I think there's something about the tone that I just kind of didn't take that super seriously, that made me less intrigued to keep going, because I was also noticing that like there's just so many spy shows on TV right now. I don't know if
There's
you've picked up
way too
on that
many.
with this one, the
Agency,
Agency, the Day of the Jackal. I'm trying to catch up on Slow
Lioness,
Horses,
Slow Horses.
Lioness. Yeah, so with so many different spy shows on right now, I don't know if Black Doves is one that I'm going to keep going with.
All right. I feel like it's a mini series. They're looking to make this a series. They're looking to
It's
make this a
Netflix. If
series.
it's
Oh my
successful enough,
word.
they'll make it a series. Yeah.
I mean, people have liked it. It trended. It's got decent reviews for it. I'll
Right.
see. I'll see. Black Doves out on Netflix. The one I did get to finish, I caught all of it in its entirety, was No Good Deed, the newest dark comedy from the showrunner who gave us Dead to Me. So
Yeah,
when
Liz
you're
Feldman.
watching this and you end up seeing, where's my girl over here, Linda Cardinelli doing another role kind of like Dead to Me, it's because that's why they make these miniseries. And this one you have a couple, Lisa Kudrow, Ray Romano. They are a couple who lost a child, and you're learning little by little what happened in that incident. How did they lose this child, and why are they struggling to sell this house that they created from the ground up? You get all these different characters. These two in the back want to have a baby and maybe move into the house. Wilson and Linda Cardinelli he's an actor who lives across the street who kind of wants the house. These two are a lesbian couple. I know her from Hacks, and then what's her name from Broad City? They are a lesbian
Hmm.
couple trying to buy the house. One of them is a cop. One of them is a lawyer. They may end up finding more about the story than we do. And then also, what's his name? I don't know. I'm blinking on him in
Dennis
the back. He
Leary.
plays the brother. Dennis Leary comes in as the slimy. I should just say character, I guess, at the start, because the way that they reveal a lot of things in the show was what I found entertaining, but then also a little obnoxious because they will set up things in the
Yeah.
most like, what? This is such a cartoony way for you to set up exposition. And then you're doing some really clever things where we don't find out stuff about characters till episode 4, 5, 6.
Mhm.
I found it entertaining enough. Not as strong as that first season of Dead to Me, but still something that I thought was an easy breeze, and I finished it in a day.
Yeah, I think I pretty much am in agreement with you. I think the number one thing is that it's hard to watch the show and not feel the potato chip effect that it has on you,
Mhm.
where it's just like, oh, just one more, just one more, and
Yep.
like you kind of like it's so algorithmically fine-tuned to compel you to binge watch in a way that I honestly felt a little bit like weird about it, like a little dirty, like Netflix is getting under my skin that way. But like
That's how they do it.
it's pretty entertaining. I wouldn't say it's like laugh out loud funny, but it features a lot of actors we really like who are solidly entertaining in these parts. And
Mhm.
then the drama is like suspenseful enough and twisty enough
Yep.
and surprising enough that like yeah, this goes down smooth. I could see easily finishing it off over the course of a weekend.
Plus, Linda looks great. So, did I really have a choice? Did I
Right.
really have a choice? This isn't even close to top 10 outfits that she's got in the show. You got to check it out. No Good Deed over on Netflix. Pretty easy breezy one to watch. Another recommendation I would have, I don't know if you caught an episode of this yet, but it's so short. 4 episodes, that's it, of Dream
Hmm.
Productions, the spin-off of the Inside Out world where they go into Riley's dreams. And in particular, you follow the purple one right here in the middle, who is like an old director from Dream Productions who doesn't
Hmm.
realize that her memories have kind of faded. So she doesn't know that while she was a legendary director, we were saying this off of the podcast, some directors don't realize they may not have that touch and it has faded away. I love the voice acting in here. I love the animation because you're jumping between the outside world that they animate in a certain way. It's more cartoony, if you could even say that, in the
Hmm.
dream world, or I should say, in the emotional world. Because then the dream world is anamorphic, so it looks like an actual movie. I think it's visually beautiful, but it's the voice actors that really do a great job. Richard Ayoade. It took me a minute, bro. I was like, I know this voice. I know this voice. He plays the next up director who becomes her PA, her like assistant director, and he kills it in it. He's the director who wants to be very much the indie director. She's making the blockbusters. They have their directors who direct the horror. I really like the world they've created in it. I thought they were going to have more episodes, but I caught half of them, and I thought both of them were a delight. Dream Productions over on Disney Plus. I think one of their better shows so far.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm trying to think of some of the other ones that they've put out there that are at least tangentially related to the animated movies. I remember enjoying some of the like
Monsters.
Forky shorts, but
Forky
those were
was
like just
decent, yeah.
shorts. Yeah,
But this really would just be a straight to DVD release, split
right.
into 4. You got yourself, excuse me, a series instead. Monsters University, I think, or Monsters, excuse me, at Work was the spinoff
Hmm.
after University, and they now have their original, the baseball one that's coming up. We'll see how that one does, but
Yeah,
I thought this was a good addition to it. I'd recommend it. Very easy to binge over on Disney
nice.
Plus. That was on Disney, so I decided let me play the next one, bro. I don't know how many Star Wars shows there are out there, but this takes place so actually far away. You know, they're starting to get, they want to make that Taika movie that has nothing to do with any of the characters.
Right.
Makes you wonder, is it even Star Wars then? Look, they got the IP to this. Bro, this is the suburbs of Star Wars land. These kids are
Hmm.
living with other animals and the creatures from Star Wars, but it's about the pirates out there. It's not bad. I wanted to turn it on because out of all the Disney shows, this looks the crispiest. The sound is beautiful. They don't have bad actors out there. It is pretty much a pirate story in the Star Wars world, out in the middle of nowhere, not interacting with anybody else. And out of the couple episodes that I saw, it doesn't seem bad. And I'm not even the biggest Star
Hmm.
Wars fan. Out of the divisive stuff they had this year with the Acolyte, this seems to have appeased some people. So if you're curious, it wasn't that bad. And it focuses on the kids a
It's
lot more than I thought.
yeah, a lot of these Star Wars shows tend to do that. I remember what was the one where they brought back Ewan McGregor? That one had way
And then it ends
more.
up being on what's her name? Young why am I blanking on her name?
Le- is it Leia?
Leia, yeah,
I
young
don't.
Leia.
Yeah.
And now Obi-Wan. Yeah, the show was called Obi-Wan, and then boom, half of the show
Right.
goes
Right.
over there. It's called Skeleton Crew. We're dealing with the kids. But
Yeah.
no,
So
it was
mo-
bad.
most people seem to think Andor is like the far and away best of these Star Wars shows. A lot of people also really love The Mandalorian, particularly the early
Getting a movie.
Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Where would you say Skeleton Crew ranks among the Star Wars TV shows? Is it like close to
Damn,
early Mandalorian? Is it
you asking the wrong
at
person.
least
I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you exactly what you just asked me. Hey Zach, that coffee I let you taste. Where do you like? Where would it rank for you, Zach?
it
Right?
tastes like coffee?
It tastes like coffee. It tastes like Star Wars, buddy. I don't know.
Cool.
From the top half, probably not Andor and the other thing, but a lot better than what they've been getting. Because that's the
That's
thing.
good.
Like we mentioned so much, isn't it crazy? You still got 3 other ones: Ahsoka, Boba Fett. It's
Mm.
ridiculous. It's a little much. It's a little much, and they shouldn't all be that forgettable. This seems to at least be entertaining to some. So that is our TV pilots for the week. Out of the bunch, I think Dream Productions gets my thumbs up if you're starting something, but we'll have more in the coming attractions. For now, we got a little yay or nay to play for the movie news of the week. We've also got some trailers, which I'm realizing when you made me watch one of them beforehand, there is one dude killing it with the trailers after they try to cancel him for a movie. Oh, damn. Okay. Before our first movie news, we actually have a very important thing. I almost forgot about them. Let's give a shout out to
Yeah.
the Intercutie patrons over on
Let's
Patreon.
Patreon or here on YouTube. You can be wherever. We just want to thank you all for supporting the show. If you are one of our inner cuties, your name is on the screen right now. But I do want to shout out in the Academy tier to Shar, Cademan, Connor, May, Ricky, Joe, Wiley, Matt, Jeremy, and Michael, I guess, as well as our producer level patrons. They are Toon, always holding it down in the Discord, Brandon G, our longest running member on right here on YouTube, Josh, who is keeping the live stream comment section busy, and Bleepy, our newest producer level patron. A huge thanks to all of them, and another huge thanks to our newest patron, Ryan Lay, who just joined on the Inner Cutie Plus tier and wrote to us to say that they've been, quote, a long time listener, roughly 4 or 5 years, and I'm finally able to financially support you guys on what you're doing. I've loved the weekend must watches from the start, but particularly like your festival coverage. Thank you so much for that, Ryan. He's been a frequent commenter for years, and it's really cool to see those people who've stuck with us jump up to the Intercutie level. And to make Ryan happy, we did just record our Sundance 2025
just for him,
festival
actually.
and lineup preview. Exactly. If he didn't ask, we weren't going to do it, but we did it, and it's available now for patrons of the podcast. You can catch it whether you're a member on YouTube or on patreon.com/intercutpod. Patreon has even made it accessible, or possible rather, to buy access to specific posts. So you could just buy access to our Sundance preview for $3 and get it a week before the public does.
Or sign up so you can get all of the backlog from the Intercut Patreon. We always do live streams for those, so the episodes that you're going to get public will be edited out. You don't get the before and after talks, and you especially don't get the Intercutie patron hangout that we're going to be doing today after this show. I'm probably going to have to hop it on the road. Going to give you guys a road trip tour on my way over to Mufasa, but we will be doing the hangout for December after this. So a big shout out to all the Intercutie patrons over on Patreon or here on the YouTube membership page. Appreciate y'all.
Yeah, appreciate you.
All right. Little yay or nay. Hit me, Zach. We've got some movie news that came out this week.
We do.
I do like the first one. I'm not going to lie. Tell me.
Yeah. I mean, look, you and I, for the past couple years now, we've been down in Austin covering South by Southwest. And at some point, one of us turns to the other and says, how are we going to watch the Oscars? Because they're not on streaming. They haven't been on streaming for years. And it's tough, but it's not a situation we're going to have to worry about any longer.
Finally.
For the first time, the Oscars will stream on a major service. Hulu will broadcast the awards that are ABC production, so they keep it in-house with the Disney brand. And it is just such a welcomed relief to not have to worry about that for cord cutters. Cord cutters care about the Academy Awards too.
I'm going a big nay here, Zach. I just got YouTube TV. WTF, bro? I
They're
finally
saving you
made the
money.
jump.
Cancel that membership.
Bro, it's even worse because we got YouTube TV and then we got hit with an email. Some of you know, $10 going up on YouTube TV starting January. Screw you, YouTube. We
Yup.
hate YouTube TV. YouTube is great. Please
Yeah.
push this video.
Yeah.
Of course, double big yay. There is no reason that the Tonys have been on Paramount for damn near 5 years and we're barely getting the Oscars on here. I watch Sunday Night Football, Amazon showing Thursdays. We are getting way too many sports. The biggest people who charge on our streaming services for the Oscars to not have been seen. It was one of the dumbest things possible. I don't even know what it is, because to me, I was never hearing finances. I was hearing like when AMC didn't want the Netflix movies. Oh, you guys just have like an ego problem. There is no reason this shouldn't have been streamed. It would have made it a lot easier. They literally post them up the file like 2 days after. That was the other thing. It wasn't even 24 hours. It was 2 days. 2 days? You need viewers and you're waiting 2 days? Finally, it will be on there the way that it should be. And most people have Hulu, so
Yeah, the only
can't even
reason to go
thank them
down
because
on
it's
this is
late.
that the only reason to go down on this is that they didn't do it sooner. And
That's
for
what I'm
us,
saying.
they moved the Oscars. So we're not even going to be at South by Southwest this year for the Oscars.
Oh, we're not. I'm gonna be out. When are the Oscars this year?
I want to say they're like March 1st or 2nd. They're a little earlier than normal.
Let's see. And South by isn't until March 2nd.
Yeah, and
Well,
then
we'll
we're
have a
out
free
in
South
South
by.
by for March 5th or 6th.
We'll have a free Sunday
There we go.
instead of having to try to put it in there. But I do think Hulu should have come in a long time ago. So a big thumbs up, but almost a thumbs down because they dragged.
Curious your thoughts on this next bit of news, because there's a lot of people reacting in very different ways to this director announcement, this casting announcement. It's a very intriguing bit of talent put together here, in that the previously announced Luca Guadagnino adaptation of American Psycho, the Bret Easton Ellis novel, is set to star Austin Butler, of all actors. So first of all, just yay or nay on this project in general, and then yay or nay on the specific people attached.
So we haven't seen the movie. We have no idea what the take is going to be. I'm a little trepidatious because I don't care to see his adaptation. I'm of the minority where I didn't like his previous adaptation. I also believe that the previous adaptation directed by a woman is a lot better. And I've seen my man take a lot of women's pieces like he did with his previous adaptation and not adapt it the best way. So I'm willing to say for this and then be wrong later, because I also feel that you're getting a really good actor. And I know we want to jump on him because he's not an unknown or he's maybe too popular. I still think he could do a good job. Luca can still make a good remake.
Yeah.
But I get why people are doubtful, and I'm going to go on the doubtful thing here. I think we already have a perfect version of this movie. I don't think you should be adding some scenes that were cut, and I don't know if we're all going to buy him in it.
I am gonna go slightly yay on this, and my biggest reason for not wanting to is because I agree. I feel like we don't need more versions of movies that already work. There's not much about the Christian Bale led American Psycho film that feels dated. Even
Thank you.
like it's
like what's missing
feels,
that. Yeah, right. Like they forgot one theme to cover. No, they covered it.
And well, what I would say in terms of the idea of is something missing is that Luca Guadagnino is a very particular director. And, there's a chance that whatever it is he takes away from the work is going to be very different than whatever Mary Herron took away from the work. I imagine the homoeroticism is going to be dialed up to 11 in Guadagnino's film, as it quite often is. And there's totally a world in which you can do something about America in the world of American Psycho that is kind of more attuned to the things that Luca likes to explore in his films. Like, I see the vision, is why I am ultimately going to say yes. I think Austin Butler, if he brings half of what he brought to Dune Part 2, he can absolutely pull this off. It's not the movie I want any of these people to do the most. but
Why this one?
yeah, it's just a little bit weird. I mean, I
It
guess
is.
like people like this IP enough that it'll generate some
What?
eyeballs.
That's
I
what
mean,
I'm saying.
everything's
I was
IP.
like, I know people don't like the MCU thing, but it's like, okay, don't call it the MCU. You're still doing the same thing here. Why is this the Hamlet role? Like, what? Who has gowned the new American Psycho role? Like, what? I don't get it.
Yeah,
The
it's
new
just
Macbeth?
like a
Why?
right. That's the thing. It's like I don't know if we need if certain stories need to be like generational, right? Like that,
Thank
right?
you.
Like should
How is
we?
this A Star Is Born for Men? How?
I mean, look, if it just depends on what you're asking me. Like, if I want to see Luca do this, or if I want to see his, isn't he like rumored to be doing a Marvel movie or some shit or DC
Yeah,
movie? I
so
think
is
he's
M.
actually
Night.
signed on
I
for.
don't know. I don't care for any of those because
I'd
we don't
rather see
understand
him
won't
do
let them
this
make it.
than a DC movie, but like,
Exactly, because I guess you're getting more of a play, but I feel worst case scenario, the people who dislike it will be for the wrong reasons, and the people who like it will be for the wrong reasons. I see this one being, I don't know if problematic is the one that I'm looking for, but it's going to be very divisive. I
it's
think
gonna
people are going to
start a
like the wrong
discourse, and the
aspects of it.
discourse
Yeah,
will be annoying.
annoying as can be. So we'll leave it at that right there.
Yeah,
Austin Butler, the new American Psycho.
yeah. For now, at least. Let's go yay or nay on a couple new trailers. I made you
Shoot.
stop everything and watch the trailer for Warfare
Mm-hmm.
before we began this recording. It is the new film directed by Alex Garland, and he's co-directing here. Actually, do you have the guy's name? I
Ray
just
Mendoza. He
Ray
also
Mendoza.
co-directed Civil War.
He was the military consultant for all those scenes, particularly
Yeah.
in Civil War. So if you were a big fan of the last 30 minutes of that movie, boy, do we have something for you. You're pretty fresh off of watching it. What do you think about the trailer for Warfare?
It's everything people are going to want Civil War to have been. And then Civil War was what then people are going to complain when they watch this, going, where is the other stuff that was in Civil War? If one directed Civil War and the other one did the action, my man came in here to be his first time directorial debut as a vet. And then Alex Garland did the, well, let me show you how to actually like frame a scene and stuff like that.
Mhm.
I find that very fascinating. So I guess Civil War was maybe too cerebral for people considering what they complained about. This will be an inverse of that, but there's one planet besides the cast, which I need to see a trailer. I was sold. Besides the cast being stacked, I did not realize it had this many people. And some of the people who are even higher in the cast is surprising me because like, how do you have this man as like the third line, Joseph Quinn,
Mhm.
and like DeFaro from Reservoir Dogs? I think he's like top billing. But there's a tagline to this movie about memory is everything. And it makes me wonder as you see the trailer and there's some color correction that they do with it as they go from place to place, that it's going to be a little bit more, I hate using the word, elevated than your
Mhm.
average shoot 'em up survival thing. I think we're going to get into the psyche of these characters, of these soldiers, and I think
Yeah.
it's going to be very interesting. Um,
Well, one thing that I thought was pretty interesting about the trailer is they seem to be implying that the movie is going to be told in real time, like so, not in one
like the
take,
ending of
like
Civil War. Yeah, yeah.
right, and not like one take, like a movie like 1917, but like
Mad
minute
Max
to
Fury Road,
minute.
point A to point
Yeah,
B.
there's not going to be not maybe not even like Mad Max Fury Road, but just literally more like Saturday Night, right? Where it's like
Okay.
these are the 90 minutes before. These are like the 90 minutes that they were under fire in this war. The trailer also tells you that it takes place in Iraq in 2006.
Mhm.
So I think the thing that I was struck by with the trailer is that it kind of seems like a pretty stripped down military warfare film, and obviously given Ray Mendoza's background, like I'm sure he will have a lot of insights into just the feel of it and the mechanics of it and the little nuances that go into it, particularly when we're talking about the situation unfolding in real time. I think I'm curious to know if there's going to be an additional there, right? Like if there's
Yeah.
like what's I'd expect from a director like Garland there to be some kind of subversion, some kind of other element that maybe is not quite so present in the trailer. Because I don't know how large my appetite is for just sort of like a stripped down military conflict in the Middle East movie, but you have to consider the people involved.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I think that memory tagline is going to deal something with their psyche. However they go about it from that point A to point B,
Right.
it's how they internalize it. Because again, Civil War, I don't think was a shoot 'em up, and I also don't think the other movies he's made, like 28 Days Later back in the day, was more than just your average zombie film. So isn't it funny that the other banger trailer of the week is 28 years later? All these complaints, Zach, last year, canceling my man Alex Garland. I told y'all not to. Y'all were very mean to him. Now y'all Googling over the 2 trailers that deal with him. This is incredible. I've literally seen so many people just talk about this trailer like the epitome of what a commercial should look like.
Yeah, it's really
Here it comes.
intriguing, and it feels like it's blowing up the idea of this franchise and making it much bigger and more global. And there's just elements that I feel like are a bit alien to what we've seen before. But Danny Boyle is this incredible visionary director, so I have a lot of faith in it. I think he's just got a way of shooting zombie conflict that is a little bit leaves you a little more on edge than your average filmmaker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but
What stood
I've
out to you in
always
the trailer?
loved just the way that it looks. I know everyone wants to talk about the iPhone stuff, even though it's
Mm.
a super amped out camera. I'm not too concerned about that. Whatever. They did the same thing with the first, which people forget. They shot it on DV cameras, which is why it's not out there. Like people like connect 2 things, but they don't realize why. Why is this
Right.
one shot on an iPhone? Because they're copying what they did the first time around with cameras. Why isn't it available to purchase? Well, because it was shot on those cameras that look like crap. They have to update them, filter them, and that's why they're about to have a digital release for the original. It looks like they did a good enough job where it's not gonna age with the iPhone lenses they used, but I just think the way it's cut, edited, mixed, it looks like it's going to be an adventure. People have been scoping out what Cillian Murphy is going to be in this, if he's going to come back, if this is him. I don't believe it is. Just looks a lot like him. But it's more so Aaron Taylor Johnson has been hyping this up during the Kraven interviews. It's the only one. They'll ask him about James Bond. He's like, no, Kraven. But they'll ask him about 28 Days Later, and he says, it made me love shooting movies again. So there's something about the energy in this film that I think is going to have we rarely get these, but there are some franchises that are able to bring it after a good amount of time. They come back and remind you why the first one really worked, like a Top Gun. And I think 28 years later might do that because 28 weeks later wasn't the same crew. This is Danny Boyle, if I'm not mistaken, coming back with Alex Garland. Yep. I'm all in.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see this one for sure.
We got this coming up on Thursday.
Yeah, just whet our appetites a little bit.
I like it. I like the motion when he's got on Twitter too.
Yeah, for Superman. I don't know, man. Where's your hype levels at? I know you want this movie to be very good. How much do you expect it
to be very good? The last DC iteration that we're ending was rebooted by a Man of Steel. That was his franchise. We're done with that. We are rebooting it yet again with another Man of Steel. It is his Superman. I do feel a way that it's Superman.
Right? Like just
we got a Superman.
Stripped down back. Oh, you don't like that.
Bro, it was Batman Begins. It wasn't Batman Again. It was the Batman. It wasn't Batman Again. We have a Superman, my G. Why are you doing that? We have
so you'd be happier if it was the Superman?
Not necessarily, but I thought we had a name with it. I thought it was like, I know he was basing it off All-Star Superman. I thought there was going to be something else with it. It's not the worst thing out there, but it is a little scream if you're trying to make something new, in my opinion. You already got a classic, but everything's riding on this. I like the casting all around. Oh, that trailer is going to be massive, bro. Like, it's actually been a minute since we've had a trailer that's really going to decide a lot, because most decide the movie, maybe a franchise. This is a studio. Thursday can't get here enough.
The previous title was Superman Legacy.
Thank you, Devesh. And Josh, who had said it there too. So I wasn't wrong. I thought that's what it was.
Maybe they will reveal something with the trailer. I don't know.
Superman asterisks.
I
think a lot is
weirdly hopeful for this one, even as a person who doesn't care much about comics or comic book movies. But I was pointed out that James Gunn is the only person who's successfully made films in the Marvel and DC realms, and he's worked with a bunch of different characters and seems to just sort of like get how to get to the essence to them. And granted, Superman is a much different character than the comic book characters he's previously put to screen, but every inclination so far seems to be going in the right direction, if you ask me.
So you're going yay? I'll go yay as well. I'm excited for that trailer coming out this Thursday. So book a movie, whatever it is. Lion King, is that what it's going to be?
Oh man, yeah, maybe they're putting it in front of Lion King. That would be interesting.
Unless it's Sonic, but we shall see there. But
Maybe both.
that is our movie news for this week. It is time to get to our coming attractions. We'll play some yay or nay here for everything coming to movie theaters, streaming, and TV series. The first one, I already know where you're landing. I'm starting off with the limited ones before we get with the big releases. But you saw this one. Hype me up. Why should I go on Wednesday for the IMAX special screening?
I mean, if your IMAX has got Dolby speakers, it's nice to hear the smooth sounds of Timmy Chalamet's voice. No, I mean, look, I would say that it's worth catching a complete unknown because this is solving a lot of my problems with most music biopics. And I'm surprised more people aren't seeing it this way because it's not giving you the full cradle to grave treatment that I think makes so many music biopics hokey. Like, I don't really need to see what happened to Bob Dylan at 10 years old that inspired Like a Rolling Stone, you know? I just want to see him play the songs that are iconic. And by really focusing in on this 4-year stretch of his life and career, you're not only getting a really good picture of like who the man was and how he developed into the myth, but also the time in history that allowed for something like Bob Dylan to happen, because he's very much a product of his time, not just in social history and in music history. I don't know, man. I think this is a really interesting take on the music biopic. Granted, James Mangold is no stranger to this, having done the really excellent Walk the Line. I don't know.
Are you saying catch it in Dolby instead of IMAX? Because the early screening this Wednesday comes out Christmas. Early screening is only IMAX. But you're saying Dolby may be better.
Catch it wherever you can catch it. I just like listening to music on Dolby speakers when I can.
Perfect. Well, sounds good. Like it's mixed to see in a theater, which is the most important part of it.
Exactly.
It will be coming out on Christmas with early screenings this week. The limited release of The Brutalist, which is getting a 70 at 35. I saw it in 35, I want to say, for Chicago. I want to see it again in 70, but I also technically want to see it digitally. The Brutalist. I want to see it digitally because I know I'm going to get recliners. You're rewatching it again. You're making the jump this Friday to catch it in IMAX? 70?
Just in 70, yeah.
Beautiful. Brutalist getting the 2 thumbs up from me, a film that we believe is going to make it all the way to the Oscars and is a feat of filmmaking.
You know, there's some films that you want to see on a big screen and some films that you kind of want to see somewhere where an old lady is going to be unwrapping candy next to you. And this feels like an old lady unwrapping candy movie to me. So I
saw it in a theater where a guy plays an organ. Exactly what you mean.
Exactly.
This is like an IFC movie, like where you're down there. Sometimes I mean no ill will. To me, the IFC center basement screening is so private. I feel like it leaks. I feel like you're in the sewers with the Ninja Turtles down there. It's such an intimate setting. Yeah, that's where you watch The Brutalist. The IFC basement screening feels like the scene in The Brutalist when he's walking with the statues and it's all water.
Exactly. That's the vibe I'm going for
that comes out this weekend. No better way to see it for the 3-hour epic that is The Brutalist. Out in limited as it rolls out throughout Christmas Eve and the likes. But the big movies this week, I will be watching it in 90 minutes. I know we call it the new Disney movie, the new Mufasa, the Lion King, whatever. It's the new Barry Jenkins. We got new music from Lin-Manuel. It's the reason why he ain't come back from Moana. I want to be dumb delusional, bro. I'll let you know right after the screening. But it is a new take that's supposed to switch how you see Mufasa. Hey, those bad guys are actually good. Hey, how about the good guys actually being bad, they said, for this prequel. I want to be optimistic. Out this week in IMAX. No words from Zach, okay?
I want to be optimistic too, man. But I looked at the trailer. I saw how it looked. Have you read that article, that Vulture article where they talked to Barry Jenkins about the process of making this movie?
No, but if I hear about it, I feel like I'm gonna make this face.
I'd recommend people check it out.
He said, "I regret it."
Yeah. Yeah, the one where he was kinda like, "I wouldn't make a movie like this again." I mean,
Okay.
it's just a fascinating insight into, like, not only the process of being introduced to this kind of film technology, but also just, like, the choices that a filmmaker has to make, and how a lot of his motivation to take this project was after what he felt like was Amazon dropping the ball on Underground Railroad.
They did drop the ground, so this is him having to recoup it. I like what Luna says in the chat that it could be his David Lowery section. We don't give enough props to what David Lowery did there. He even got a short
True,
film out this year with that
true.
Disney money, a
You
stop
know,
motion one.
I will say this for Mufasa. I think there's a better chance that this could be good than John Favreau's, because ultimately John Favreau's The Lion King is
Remake of a
a remake of an incredible movie that
yeah,
is an intense downgrade in the
fair.
visuals. This
That
is
was big
new
criticism. Yeah,
material,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
new
yeah. Good point.
songs, new story. So
New
maybe,
crappy
maybe.
CGI coming out in theaters alongside the one the trailer keeps playing for this, and I am kind of excited. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 has made me laugh at every single new trailer. I'm sorry, but Ben Schwartz does it for me. Jim Carrey definitely does it for me. There's two of them this time around. Bringing in Keanu, bringing back Idris, and then adding, who else did they add over here? I thought they added somebody else. No, I'm adding characters myself. Anyway,
They
I'm
added Keanu.
I'm they did add Keanu. I guess he would be the
Yeah.
new one. They are bringing this to 40X. I saw the last one in 40X, and I thought it was a delightful experience. It is my go-to 40X franchise. I will be there opening day. Sonic the
Awesome.
Hedgehog 3. You not a fan of the first two?
No, look, I find them decently funny. And where I landed at with the second one is that at least there's one franchise left paying Jim Carrey to be Jim Carrey.
He
You know,
retired.
yeah, except for these fucking movies. I don't know, man. Like, they're not good, but they feature funny people doing funny things.
Yeah. I think they've gotten progressively funnier with the people they've allowed to just go off the rails and do whatever. And it seems like they're getting even worse with this one. I am happy to see that. It's going to
Yeah.
be dumb fun, in my opinion.
What was
But
it?
flipping to
Natasha Rothwell or whatever was in the last one and very
in the
hilarious.
second one, she was so funny. People were
She's
sharing
so
that clip of
good.
her at the wedding. Yeah, when she finds out that even
Yeah.
the priest got the gun in the Bible. It's some funny stuff, bro. But those are the
Yeah.
big releases for this week. Sonic, Mufasa, still big movies. I think it'll be a good box office. But if you're not looking to leave the house because it's too cold outside, we got some different picks at home on Mubi. I'm sure the Sonic fans will be tuning in for Bird, Andrea Arnold's newest film. I have missed it from its festival runs. I think Zach got the chance to see it. I will be catching it now on Mubi that it is out. Thumbs up, thumbs down.
Thumbs up. I think if you like Andrea Arnold, you're not going to be disappointed with this one. She has a particularly like lyrical way of putting her films together. I really
Mhm.
like her shot composition in particular. It's also got these really fantastic performances. Barry Keoghan, who plays like a young father to a teenager and is navigating that, as well as Franz Rogowski, who is really incredible in this film as this kind of like mysterious drifter friendly guy. So very different from his passengers role, but
Mhm.
I'd highly recommend this one. It's a very interesting, slightly with slight elements of magical realism coming of age story.
Nice. A thumbs up for the one on Mubi. Probably an iffy one for the 688 out on Netflix, the newest one from Tyler Perry about an all black women battalion back during World War II. The only reason this one stood out was because you reminded me that there is our favorite artisanal creative for music.
Mm-hmm.
Always gets nominated every year. Doesn't
She
matter what the
back,
movie is.
baby.
She is back for this one. Diane Warren is doing
Diane
the song for
Warren.
this. And like that's the only reason you're gonna hear about this movie. It looks a lot better than the other junk he's made. This is like an
Well,
actual story
looks like he's
that
actually trying
he's
for this one.
trying, but that's also what kind of makes you go like, really, bro? After the BS you put out, you're gonna take a serious story. You're hurting the serious story more than anything else. But we'll be
Yeah.
tuning in for this one over on Netflix.
I'm
But if
sure there's like a good reason for it to be titled that. Like that's probably the name of the battalion they were in or
688,
whatever.
yeah.
But that's one of those titles, the 6888, that as soon as it goes in one ear, it goes out the other. Like it's at the 759, the
Yeah.
627. Like what is it?
What kind of Luna number is this? 999 knew exactly what to do. 3 nines. That's it. 999. This is the 6 triple. It's like you're doing a math equation. You're right.
Yeah,
Speaking of math, Juror number 2. That's the only math you need. Have this be number 1 for you. This is coming
exactly.
out to HBO Max. As simple as it can be. The newest Clint Eastwood movie that I still kind of want to get one of those shirts of the theaters that did play it as it came out for its very limited run. It will now be
Mhm.
available everywhere. I think it is definitely worth the watch. A very interesting tale of a man who is part of a jury where he may be responsible for the crime, but really a film where he's the one on trial as a changed person. Good performance by Nicholas Hoult. Good Nicholas
Yeah,
Hoult week coming up, to be honest.
it's a big Nicholas Hoult year,
My
2024.
guy, your guy.
Yeah,
There you go.
my guy. Yeah, and you only
Couple
need to
TV
watch Juror number 1 to catch up with the events of this movie.
Yeah, it's not too much. It's a short film too. Some TV shows. Laid. It is a comedy series coming to Peacock.
Right.
It looks cute. We'll give it
Yeah,
that.
that's
Stephanie
Stephanie
Shu getting a
Shu
TV
in
series.
the lead
Yeah,
role.
she's getting a series, which is not bad. So good for her. I'm gonna give it the thumbs up. I'm gonna give the thumbs down to Beast Games with all the controversy still coming out on Prime. His own little Squid Game type stuff that was getting a lot of complaints from the people who were there and how they were treated. I'm sure it's gonna do numbers for Prime.
Yeah, dude. Uh,
Or not.
making content in the face of copyright can get you really far.
Let's do it. And then What If coming in for I don't know if it's their second or third, but another one of their animated Disney Plus series where it takes all the characters you know and says, what if we made more money in different stories with them? People really like these, so they will be out on Disney Plus. But that's all the new stuff that's coming out this week. Let's get into our picks for the week. Got
Let's
a
do
couple
it.
of decent ones. I was going to pick bad ones, but I was like, let me get them some good stuff.
Yeah.
There was a series that played on Netflix this week that I thought was pretty decent because it's only 4 episodes. It's a mini series talking about a natural disaster in a place called La Palma. It is not in Spanish. It's actually Norwegian because a Norwegian family goes to this place, and then it turns out a volcano goes off. And you know when a volcano goes off, they got to deal with the tsunami. And then besides the tsunami, there's the drama of the family. So you got all of these natural disasters coming into a peak. Alina's a big fan of natural disasters. Hit that sweet spot, and it was nice and short. 4 episodes. This was done before I knew it. Sometimes you think these are going to drag. Nah, 4 episodes is perfect. It follows this family as they try to get out. And I think it really gets into that whole like Greenland, day after tomorrow type mentality and puts it in a very real scenario. La Palma TV series over on Netflix. My next one is out on HBO. I don't know if you got the first season to this. It's a show called Bookie about an LA bookie who has his own crew. You got what's his name from Lost is in it as well. The main
Hugo.
guy I know is
Hugo from Lost.
Hugo from Lost is in it. I know this guy is a comedian. This is his series where he's the bookie in LA where it's still illegal to make bets, and it's his ring that he's going around. I am waiting for the Otani jokes in season 2. I haven't started the pilot yet, but it just started. They're going to be doing it on a weekly basis. My brother really likes the show. He put me on it. We caught a couple episodes. Easy breezy stuff. It reminds me of like adjacent to the Ballers, and I forget the other one that HBO had because I think Ballers was for Showtime or vice versa. However it went, Billions was the other one. This is the other B show that's coming in for the premium services, and I think if it fills that spot now that the others have ended. Bookie.
Very cool.
Out on Prime. Oh, and they're also bringing Scrubs. I know you like Scrubs.
Do you want to talk about that?
He shows up in his next one.
Yeah. They're apparently in talks to do a Scrubs reboot show.
I was saying he's in Bookie, but
you didn't hear that?
No. Why?
Yeah. That's the thing, right? Like I thought Scrubs was a really solid show for a couple of seasons. Like I have very fond memories of those first 3-4 seasons, but like I just have no interest in hearing a 40-year-old Zach Braff scream "Eagle." Like if they're gonna reboot it, they gotta reboot it. Like they better make it about the younger generation.
You talking about Zach Braff?
Zach Braff Scrubs,
the T-Mobile guy.
Yeah. And Donald Faison, the T-Mobile guy.
The T-Mobile guys are going to make a season. That's so dumb. And Jason, okay, Shay. Well, good for them. He is also on there on Bookie, so we'll see when that one comes out. Still, Comedy Central?
Paramount
Plus,
I think
bro.
ABC.
Can you imagine?
The Scrubs reboot, I think, is going to be ABC.
Damn, bro. Scrubs reboot, Office reboot. What else are we getting? We're getting a lot of reboots from the classics. Yikes.
That's all we know what to do.
That one will be coming out. I guess I'm going to stick with rebooting like classics, but this is literature. 100 Years of Solitude, Part 1 has come out. It is based off of the epic novel from, I'm blinking on the original. Oh, it says right there, Gabriel Garcia Marquez. I've never read the book. I have gone through videos and breakdowns of it. It is this magical realism, epic fantasy that crosses generations of this one guy. And I love that Part 1 spends a majority of the time. You think it's all going to take place like in the past as this dude tries to create his own town. He dips because someone insulted his wife, killed that dude, and then set up shop like Horizon somewhere else. We have seen 3-4 episodes where it's just him before we time jump to his next generation. And what happens is that all of his family throughout his family tree end up being connected in some way or another. It has been an incredible adaptation so far. The director that they got has killed it, and the cast has been really good. 2 thumbs up for this one. 100 Years of Solitude, Part 1, up on Netflix.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like a show that Netflix has put a lot of money behind.
You can see it, and I'm happy they did. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah. Very cool.
So definitely catch that one if you are interested. Zach Scott.
I've got a couple things here. First one we already mentioned, but The Brutalist, it is starting to roll out. It is one of the movie events of the year. We'll probably talk about it more when we record our best movies of the year video later this week. But it is a film that is going to have a staggered release. And I know some people who listen to us from international countries don't even know when the movie is going to be out for you. So in the meantime, the soundtrack is now available on streaming, and that is one of the scores of the year from Daniel Blumberg. That just incredible overture is been like on a constant rotation for me since I knew that I could listen to it.
Yeah,
it's
I played
just
Bus a lot.
So yeah, it's
Bus
so
does the
meditative. And, even Ship is so like anxious and epic.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And
it gives
really,
you one
really
of the big themes right there for the riff. It's almost like Jaws, but different.
Yes.
It's not that it's approaching you, but you're approaching it. I love it. It's very good.
Yeah.
Brutalist.
I would expect that one to at least be nominated, if not win the Academy Award. So if you can't watch The Brutalist this weekend, maybe listen to The Brutalist this weekend. I've been recommending games for a few weeks in a row now, so fuck it. Let's just keep going. Have you played Dredge?
I've heard of Dredge.
So it's a horror fishing game. You are put on a fishing boat and sent out into sea, and there's all sorts of mysterious things lurking in the water. So
what's that Jenna Ortega movie?
After Dark.
The follow-up?
Shoot. This is Finest Kind. This is Finest Kind. The game.
Kind. Let's go. Finer Kind. Okay. Hey, this looks good.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's just got a really fun cycle of like take your fishing boat out, catch some fish, try and find room to bring the fish back in your boat. But then there's also kind of this really cool tone to it where there's these mysterious creatures and this thing that's like mutating the fish. So you have to find out more and more about the mystery. I beat this whole game in 20 hours, so it's a relatively light lift for a game like this. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I think it was a pretty solid, a solid contender in a lot of the Game Awards last year.
Okay.
So,
you saw the Game Awards this year?
I saw the results.
What'd you think?
Shout out Balatro, another Zach pick of the week.
Hey, bro, Astro Boy winning. That's so dumb.
Dude, no. I had the Paul Rudd meme reaction, like, hey, look at us. Look at me.
Alina loves the demo that comes with Astro Boy.
Yeah.
So when it won, she looked at me like she was vindicated. Or sorry, Astrobot. Thank you, Devesh.
Yes,
she felt vindicated. She's like, I told you the mechanics were good. Yeah, best game of the year good. Holy smokes. I got a couple of games. Once it starts snowing and I definitely can't leave, and we caught up with all the movies of the year, January, the beginning of January is going to be nothing but video games, bro. Another good pick. This one looks fun.
Cool. I got one last pick for the week, and it is What We Do in the Shadows. It is, let me look at the clock right now, almost 7 p.m. Eastern, which means we're a little more than an hour away from the series finale of one of the funniest shows of the last decade, What We Do in the Shadows. This has just been
It's
such
rap.
a it's wrapping tonight. It has been such a reliable source of laughs for me. Just a really easy show to throw on streaming and burn through like a season and a half of vampire docu comedy. I think it's just got perhaps the best collection of funny people of any cast in TV. Like, there's no weak link in this cast list. Uh, it's introduced me to so many people that I now love so much, and I just don't know what I'm going to do with myself without getting more of like Matt Berry as Laszlo reading different lines funny. Like, just his pronunciation of burritos and chilaquiles is forever in my brain. I love the show. It's probably going to be on my best TV of the year list, but yeah, if you have never caught it, it's now all there for you, all 6 seasons.
It's
You know,
crazy.
we've
Hey,
talked about this
that's
in the
good.
past that,
So
yeah, we've talked about
6.
this in the past, how like we don't get a lot of shows that last for a long time
Yes,
anymore. And this was
especially
a
on
rare show
Hulu.
that,
Yeah.
exactly. And this was a rare show that actually stuck around long enough to like really let you spend some time with these characters, see them develop, see them find funny new situations. I love the show. Please check out What We Do in the Shadows.
We had Matt Berry come up in our Sundance preview, so nothing but big things for them outside of the show too. That's the biggest part too. So
Exactly.
we'll see what they have come back up. But running it back from the top, we've got La Palma, the miniseries disaster show that's out on Netflix. In case you wanted something pretty breezy, Bookie is starting its second season over on HBO Max. Following a bookie in California that's super hilarious. And then 100 Years of Solitude Part 1 for me over on Netflix. It has been a great adaptation, very in depth.
And I'm recommending for my picks for the week Brady Corbett's The Brutalist, if it is playing in theaters near you. And if it is not, the soundtrack from Daniel Blumberg, which should be available on whatever music service you use. I'm recommending the game Dredge, a really fun horror fishing game that should be available on Steam or whatever console you use. And I'm recommending the entire show of What We Do in the Shadows, the hilarious docu-comedy that is wrapping with its series finale tonight.
Insane, insane, insane. 2 more weeks left on this year.
Crazy. 2 more weekend must-watches.
2 more weekend must-watches. And
yeah.
it's
Not
that's
much left
it.
to must-watch.
No more watches that we must do before it is done. But
Before
other
we do
than
another
that,
52 next year.
before we do another 52, like Sony said, it's over until we come up with another way to bastardize Spider-Man.
Did you hear that thing where there's apparently some statement out that the whole reason they fast-tracked the Lord of the Rings animated movie was to retain the rights, something like that?
Well, then good thing we uncovered it today, ladies and
Yeah.
gentlemen. If you did catch it, I saw nobody asking for it in the comments either. Let us know down below. There's a couple more movies that we are, I was going to say, pounding through, going as fast as we can.
We're not that baby girl yet.
We're not a baby girl yet, but we've got 2 more weekend must. Well, technically, yeah, we got 1 more, bro.
Oh,
Next
damn.
week. That's
We're
it.
not doing the 30th?
Or did you want it? You had the 30th as us off because that's when you were going to do the best of.
We'll figure that out.
I don't know what comes out at the end of the year, so next week I think is the last releases from 2024 December. And then from there, like we said, if you are an Intercutie patron, either over on the Patreon or here with the membership page, we have our chat that's about to happen, but also all the Sundance previews done for you right there. You will also get our best movies and TV early as we live stream it for you. What's better than an early video than for you to be there when it's being recorded, like one of these right here? Definitely let us know your thoughts down below on the movies that we covered today. You can follow more from me over at LME Movies on all social media. You can follow Zach over at
Zshevich across social media or at Multiplex Show, wherever you find videos.
A reminder that you can listen to every episode of the Intercut podcast on iTunes, Anchor, Spotify, or whatever your favorite podcatcher is. And you can catch the live video weekly here on our weekend must-watch videos. Big shout out to all the Intercuties who listen live, all the patrons, everybody who goes to iTunes and leave us that 5-star review. I think you can also do it on Spotify, all the other good stuff. It helps us chart in different places around the world. It puts us on the map so that we can get more screeners. It just overall makes you a part of the Intercutie gang. Chart anywhere?
You know, it's funny. The website I normally use, Chartable, is shutting down its services, so I had to remember what the new site is. But
Damn.
shout out to Pod Status for coming in the clutch, and they let me know that this week we charted in Germany, in India. It's the order of the countries is going to be different than normal this week. In Norway, in Austria, in Hong Kong, in Czechia, in Thailand, in Poland, in South Africa, in the UAE, in Slovakia, in Netherlands, in Singapore, in Estonia, in Ecuador, in Canada, and right here in the United States of America.
Damn. Beautiful. Appreciate y'all. Don't forget to leave us a comment, drop a like, follow all the socials over on the Intercut podcast. And until next time, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, or Sony's going to adapt you into a bad remake.